Change, a word that excites many, frightens a few, and eludes most. We speak of change as though it is a destination. But change is not a destination, it is the very nature of life itself. If you are breathing, you are changing. If you are living, you are flowing. The question is not whether change will happen, but how consciously it will happen. When we speak of creating change, first we must understand you cannot change the world without touching yourself first. The world is simply a larger reflection of who we are. Angry people create angry societies. Compassionate beings create compassionate spaces. If you wish to create change, do not pick up a sword. Do not carry a flag. First, pick up a mirror, look deep into it, and ask, am I ready to become what I seek in the world? Real change is not about forcing the world to dance to your tune. Real change is about tuning yourself so beautifully that your very presence becomes music. People think change needs great effort. No, it needs clarity. When clarity arises within you, action is effortless. Like a river, you move toward the ocean of your longing without needing anyone to push you. If you wish to create change, remember, anger is not a tool, outrage is not a solution. Only clarity, compassion, and conscious action will open new doors. Change is not something we do once in a while. It is happening all the time. Every moment the body is changing, the mind is changing, the energies are changing. The very planet beneath our feet is spinning and moving through space. Nothing remains stagnant. Stagnation is death. Life means movement. Life means transformation. The problem is we have come to associate change with something external, a shift in career, a change in relationship, a move to another place. But if you sit quietly and observe, you will see, even without lifting a finger, you are changing. Your thoughts shift, your emotions flow, your very breath rises and falls like the tides of the ocean. Because change is constant, the idea of creating change is not about forcing something unnatural to happen. It is about aligning yourself with the natural rhythm life. It is about choosing the direction of that inevitable movement rather than being tossed around by it unconsciously. When you recognize that change is life itself, you stop fearing it. You stop resisting it. You start participating in it. You become a co-creator with existence rather than a victim of circumstances. The river does not resist the bends in its path. It moves with grace, knowing that every curve only brings it closer to the vastness of the ocean. In the same way, if you embrace change as your very nature, you will not struggle, you will flow. When people think of changing the world, they often look outward at governments, systems, other people. They believe if only the outside could be fixed, life would be beautiful. But the outside is just a projection of what is happening within us. If you stand before a mirror and smile, the mirror smiles back. If you frown, the mirror frowns. Trying to fix the reflection without touching the face is a wasted effort. In the same way, the world mirrors our collective inner state. Joyful beings create joyful spaces. Fearful minds build fearful societies. Before setting out to change the world, the first step is to turn inward. Ask yourself, have I changed the source from which my actions arise? If you act out of anger, you may fight injustice, but you will plant seeds of anger even in your victories. If you act out of fear, you may protect yourself, but you will spread fear even as you build walls of safety. It is not that changing yourself is separate from changing the world. It is the deepest, most effective way to do so. A peaceful being naturally radiates peace. A clear mind naturally brings clarity to confused spaces. Without uttering a word, your very presence can become a catalyst for transformation. Trying to change others without working on yourself is like trying to light a lamp with an unlit matchstick. First, light the flame within. Then, every match you touch will catch fire effortlessly. If you are willing to be the first ripple, the waves that follow will carry your essence far beyond what you can imagine. The world is not separate from us. It is not some distant stage where life is happening while we remain spectators. Every thought we entertain, every emotion we nurture, every action we take, all of it contributes to shaping the world we live in. If we look at society today, whether we see violence, division, compassion, or creativity, it is simply an outward projection of our collective inner states. Fearful minds create fearful policies. Greedy hearts shape exploitative systems. But the same world in the hands of clear and conscious beings can blossom into something magnificent. We often imagine the world as something that needs fixing, as if it is broken on its own. But the world is just an amplification of human thought, emotion, and action. If confusion reigns within individuals, how can clarity reign in the world? If anger smolders within, how can peace bloom outside? To recognize that the world is a reflection is both a humbling and an empowering realization. Humbling because it shows us that the problems we criticize outside also live within us. Empowering because it means we are not helpless. Change yourself and you inevitably change the reflection. When you see clearly that the line between the inner and the outer is imaginary, your entire approach to creating change shifts. You no longer waste energy blaming. Instead, you turn inward with grace, polish your own mirror, and in doing so, brighten the entire landscape around you. Many believe that creating change requires intense effort, struggle, and constant battle. They imagine that only by pushing, pulling, and fighting can the world be shaped differently. But in truth, change does not come from force, it comes from clarity. When you have clarity, action is simple. It flows like breath without strain. It is only when confusion clouds the mind that effort feels like a heavy burden. Without clarity, even small steps seem like great mountains to climb. With clarity, even great distances are crossed without realizing it. Think of walking through a dense fog. Every step is hesitant. You are unsure whether you are moving in the right direction, constantly anxious about what lies ahead. Now imagine walking on a clear sunlit path. Each step is firm, confident, joyful. The distance you travel may be the same, but the experience is entirely different. Clarity brings vision, and vision brings ease. When you see things as they are, not as you wish they were, not as you fear they might be, but simply as they are, you can respond to life with precision and grace. No energy is wasted in resistance. No strength is lost in confusion. The river does not push its way through the mountain by sheer force. It finds the cracks, the spaces, the natural flow, and in doing so, it carves valleys and landscapes without struggle. In the same way, if your vision is clear, your actions become sharp, focused, and incredibly effective. Change is not something you chase, it becomes something you embody naturally. It is a simple truth, yet often forgotten. Before you can transform the world around you, you must first transform yourself. Without this, every action, however well-intentioned, becomes entangled in the very problems you seek to solve. If you carry anger within you, even if you fight against injustice, your anger will find a way to seep into the new world you are trying to create. If you are filled with fear, even your acts of love will carry an undercurrent of insecurity. This is why self-transformation is not a luxury, it is a fundamental requirement. The world is not suffering because there are no solutions. It is suffering because the hands that build, the minds that plan, and the hearts that act are still trapped in the same limitations they hope to cure. Without transforming the source, the outcome cannot be different. Transformation does not mean changing your clothes, your job, or your relationships. It means fundamentally shifting the way you experience life. It means moving from compulsiveness to consciousness, from reaction to awareness. When you become still within yourself, when clarity and compassion become the soil from which your actions grow, then whatever you touch, a child, a tree, a society, will begin to flower differently. Self-transformation is not isolation from the world. It is the highest form of service to the world. When you change, you don't have to try to inspire others. Your very presence becomes a reminder that something more beautiful, more profound is possible. The longing for change is natural, but how you respond to that longing makes all the difference. If you move in reaction to the world, your actions are shaped by anger, by frustration, by a sense of helplessness. Reaction is a compulsion. It rises without choice and often blinds you to the true nature of what needs to be done. Creation, on the other hand, is conscious. It is born not out of opposition, but out of vision. It is not a response to what you dislike. It is an offering of what you deeply value. When you create, you are not fighting darkness, you are simply bringing light. If you react to cruelty with anger, you add another layer of cruelty to the world, even if your intention was noble. But if you create compassion where there was none, you become the seed of transformation. Reaction binds you to the very forces you wish to overcome. Creation frees you to shape something entirely new. This is why it is so important to act from awareness, not emotion. Emotions are powerful, but without clarity, they can turn volatile. They can blur your ability to see what is needed and instead make you act from personal hurt or pride. When you are rooted in awareness, your actions are no longer about proving something to the world or winning a battle. They become a joyful participation in the possibility of life. You are not trying to fix what is broken, you are nurturing what can be. Change created in anger will need constant defense. Change created in awareness will stand on its own like a tree deeply rooted in the earth, bending with the winds but never uprooted. When you set out to create change, it is easy to be overwhelmed by the size of the task. The problems of the world seem vast: poverty, conflict, injustice, and you may wonder, what difference can I make? In trying to tackle everything at once, many lose heart before they even begin. But change does not happen by moving mountains overnight. It begins with the smallest acts done with absolute involvement. A single seed, when nurtured with care, does not worry about becoming a forest. Yet in time it does. Likewise, small actions rooted in consciousness have the power to grow beyond imagination. What matters is not the size of the action, but the quality of attention you bring to it. If you can say a kind word with total presence, if you can lift a burden from another's shoulder without seeking recognition, if you can plant a tree and care for it like it was your own breath, these simple acts create ripples that reach far. Great movements do not start as massive waves, they start as gentle stirrings in the human heart. When those stirrings are honored through small, sincere actions, they gather momentum. When you live like this, your whole life becomes an instrument of change without any grand declarations. Every moment offers an opportunity to tip the balance of life just a little more toward balance, toward joy, toward peace. Even if no one sees it, even if no one applauds it, existence notices. Life itself responds. The beauty of real change is that it doesn't seek credit. It doesn't need validation. It simply happens like a flower blooming silently in a forest where no one may walk, but still the fragrance fills the air. I am the journey of creating change. Patience is not just a virtue, it is a necessity. Life moves at its own pace, not at the pace of your desires. Flowers bloom when their time comes, not when you tug at their petals. Similarly, transformation happens when the conditions are right, when the soil has been nurtured, when the roots are deep. If you try to force change, it may crumble under pressure. True change is organic. It needs time to take root, to grow unseen, to gather strength. Much like sowing a seed, you cannot plant it today and demand a tree tomorrow. You water it, you care for it, and you wait not with frustration, but with quiet faith. Many give up too soon because they mistake silence for failure. Just because you do not see immediate results does not mean your actions are meaningless. Some of the most profound shifts happen silently beneath the surface, where eyes cannot see but life is working tirelessly. Patience is not passive. It is a vibrant waiting, a deep trust in the process of life. It is knowing that when you do what is needed, the results will come not always in the form or time you expect, but in ways far richer and wiser than you could have imagined. When you are patient, you remain joyful even as you work. You are not driven by the desperation of outcomes. You are anchored in the satisfaction of doing what is right, what is beautiful, what is necessary. In this space of patience, you allow life to unfold in its full majesty without interference, without hurry. And when it blooms, the change that comes will not just be an event, it will be a blossoming of life itself. In the effort to create change, it is easy to become fixated on success. You may dream of victories, recognition, of visible impact. But when your focus is fixed only on results, your journey becomes burdened with anxiety. Every step is weighed down by the question, is this working? Am I winning? Real change, however, does not come from chasing outcomes. It comes from pouring your heart fully into the process itself. When you become devoted to the process, your actions are no longer dependent on immediate rewards or visible milestones. You do what needs to be done because it is an expression of who you are, not because it guarantees applause or achievement. Imagine a musician playing an instrument. If their only concern is how the audience responds, the music loses its soul. But if they are completely immersed in the song itself, the music flows pure and alive, touching hearts without any calculation. The joy of the act becomes the reward. In the same way, when you pour your attention, your care, your whole being into the smallest acts of change, whether anyone notices or not, you are in tune with life itself. You are not just working toward change, you are becoming it. Sometimes the seeds you sow may not flower in your lifetime. They may sprout generations later, watered by hands you will never know. But this should not discourage you. To live in such a way that your actions become timeless offerings to life, this is the true mark of one who understands change. If you can look at every moment of effort, every gesture of kindness, every bit of energy you offer toward a greater possibility, and know that it matters even if you never see the full bloom, then you are free. Free from the chains of success and failure, free to act with purity without distortion. When you act without attachment to results, something extraordinary happens. You move with lightness. You are no longer carrying the heavy burden of expectation. You are simply flowing with life, doing what is needed with total dedication and absolute ease. This is not carelessness. This is the highest form of care, where your actions are born from a deep sense of responsibility, but untouched by the craving for personal gain. You are not driven by fear of failure or the thirst for victory. You are moved by the sheer beauty of participating in something larger than yourself. In this state, you discover a different kind of success, one that has nothing to do with fame or fortune. It is the success of living fully, of giving your best to life with no reservations, no holding back. A quiet, inner triumph that no one may see, but that transforms the very core of your being. The idea that you are just one person is a misconception. The notion that your actions are insignificant because you are a single individual is a trap the mind creates to hold you back. In truth, you are the entire universe in one human form, and the power you possess to influence the world around you is far greater than you can ever imagine. We often think that change requires great numbers, that it is only through massive movements or grand gestures that the world can be reshaped. But change does not always begin with thousands of voices or monumental events. Sometimes the most profound shifts start with just one. A single drop of water may not seem much, but in the vastness of the ocean, it is both a part of and the reflection of the whole. That one drop, when it falls into the sea, causes ripples that spread further than it could ever have anticipated. In the same way, your actions, though small in the grand scope of things, have the power to affect far more than you realize. Every thought, every word, every gesture has an impact. It may not always be immediately visible, but it is there, rippling outwards in ways that connect to people, places, and situations you might never even know. When you act with presence, with clarity, with intention, you are creating an energy that reverberates through the universe. Every kind word you speak plants a seed, even if it is not heard by anyone but the person in front of you. Every time you act out of compassion, you send waves of healing, not just to that one person, but through the fabric of existence, where those ripples meet others in unseen ways. It is easy to dismiss the idea that one person can make a difference because we live in a world that often values grand gestures and the loudest voices. But history has proven again and again that the greatest changes, the deepest revolutions, have often started in quiet, humble ways in the hearts of individuals who believed that what they did mattered even when no one was looking. You are not powerless because you are one person. You are incredibly powerful because you are part of the interconnected web life. The way you carry yourself, the way you respond to each moment, the way you see the world, this has an impact whether you see it immediately or not. This is why it is so important to be mindful of how you move through the world. Every action, no matter how small, contributes to the larger picture of existence. If you were to imagine yourself as a single thread in a vast tapestry, you might think your thread is too small, too insignificant to matter. But when you understand that this tapestry is made up of countless threads, you begin to see that each one plays an essential role. Without your thread, the picture would be incomplete. Without your unique actions, your particular vision, the world would lack a piece of itself. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a single drop. When you realize the immense potential within you, when you understand that your every breath, every movement, every thought carries the power to transform, you stop holding back. You stop doubting. You stop waiting for someone else to make the first move. When you embody this truth that you, as a single individual, can change the course of life, you stop seeing yourself as separate from the world. You realize that you are both a part of it and an essential agent of its evolution. This understanding awakens something extraordinary in you. It shifts your very approach to life. You no longer wait for the world to change. You become the very change you wish to see. As you move forward in your life, remember that change is not a distant goal, but a living, breathing reality that unfolds within you and around you every moment. You are not separate from the world you wish to transform. You are a vital part of it. The way you think, feel, and act has a profound impact on the universe, whether you see it or not. Every small step, every quiet act of kindness, every moment of presence is a seed planted in the soil of possibility. It may not always bloom immediately, but trust that the process is unfolding even when you can't see it. The world does not change overnight, but it changes in the smallest of moments, in the quiet, persistent actions of those who choose to act with love, clarity, and awareness. Your journey is not about grand gestures or lofty ideals. It is about showing up day after day in full commitment to the highest expression of who you are. It is in the quiet moments that the greatest transformations occur, and in the smallest actions that the most profound shifts are made. Every step you take toward awareness, every shift in your inner world ripples out and touches the world in ways you may never fully understand. The beauty of true change is that it doesn't seek validation. It doesn't need applause. It simply unfolds in its own time, like the ocean's waves moving toward the shore, always guided by the pull of something far greater than itself. You are not just creating change, you are becoming it. Through every thought, word, and action, you are shaping a world that is more peaceful, more compassionate, more alive. And in doing so, you are not just changing the world, you are transforming yourself.